We're turning to hurling. Aidan Fogarty is with us. Aidan, good morning to you. How are you getting on?
Morning, lads. How are you doing?
Yeah, pretty good. Let's talk about the match at the weekend before we talk about the afters. A lot of the actual match itself has been overshadowed somewhat. What's your instinct now about where Kilkenny are and on the evolutionary scale, the style of play that they're trying to get to? How successful are they, and how much are we reading into the fact that they got back into the game against Galway, only to lose it at the very end? Like, what's the truth about where they are at the moment?
Yeah, I think some of the old frailties kind of came back to haunt them a small bit. I think up front, Kilkenny are struggling and have been struggling for long periods of games over the last couple of years. They're very reliant on, say, certain players. So if I was looking at the weekend, over the years you had TJ Reid, and we always said TJ Reid are making them tick, and take TJ Reid out of that team and out of that forward line particularly, and see how good they are. Now TJ is probably coming to the end of his career, possibly. He's 34, 35 years of age. You wonder how much is left of him. I think there's still something to offer, obviously, and I think being taken off the last day, he won't be too happy. But I suppose we have Owen Cody stepping up to the plate now, and if you take Owen Cody out of that forward line, nobody else really stood up. So for me, it's really the forwards dropping or not scoring enough for us. Owen Cody was the main man on Sunday for Kilkenny, and he was very dangerous, very good. Walter Welsh was very good as well. But after that, Billy Ryan got a goal, it was handed to him on the plate. Keown came off the bench, was kind of irrelevant really. Pádraig Welsh was curtailed, and I was surprised really. He was on the ball a little bit, but in fairness, the centre back for Galway really hurled him up a stick, and that's where I felt the game was kind of lost. And we were kind of hurling in patches, but it was more so Galway letting them back in the game. I felt Galway were a 5 or 6 team, point better team than Kilkenny on the day, and we were lucky to get the goal. Last year we were lucky to get a goal in a semi-final as well. And really, it's just the heart and the grit and the determination and the drive that we always associate with Kilkenny that kind of shone through. So for me, it's up front really. Our backs, I felt, in fairness to them, they stood up, they cleared a lot of ball, and they did feel a little bit more comfortable playing the short game. But in saying that, there was a few times the ball went over the line. Owen Murphy made a few uncharacteristic mistakes, a hand pass that went astray, a ball out over the line. So I still think they're getting to grips of the short game in the high intensity of Championship. And in the league, they're getting away with it maybe because it's not as intense. But in Championship, it's showed up slightly, the small little mistakes. They're getting turned over and they're getting punished because of it. And that's what I feel that is still happening to Kilkenny. They still haven't got to the short game 100%.
The TJ conversation is really interesting. Like, it feels this is a very new conversation. It feels that nobody would have had these doubts around TJ last year, or even in the club season that we saw with Ballyhale. Am I just missing the conversation? Has this been happening for a while, or is this very much reacting to what's happened last weekend in particular?
No, I think, in Kilkenny, I think anyway, and the word on the street is, I suppose, what's left in TJ. We're all a little bit worried because, as I said, he was the leader for Kilkenny for so many years, and such a brilliant and such a talented hurler. But the reality is what's left in TJ. I suppose looking at him on Sunday, he got a ball there, he put it over the bar. Other times he would have put the head down and took on the goal. Just small things. Now, he's been carrying a knock. He's been playing injured for Ballyhale for the last couple of months. I think it was a groin. He got an operation on it. So he's struggling with that. And when you're at that age where you're struggling with an injury, other little niggles tend to come at you as well. So he is struggling to find a bit of fitness. But in saying that, at the top level, at the club scene, you didn't really see it. But when you go to inter-county level, at the top level, that's where you're found out. And it's that 1% of where you're actually really at. And then also with that, it's the mind thing. When you're getting shoving on, when you hear little rumours maybe of what's left in you, when you're taking off in a game, your mind as an older player plays tricks on you, and you're more kind of worried. As a young fella, you don't care. It's kind of off the cuff. You're young. You're kind of you don't mind anymore. But when you're older, you take everything to heart. So I just felt in the time when he took the point instead of goal, if that was TJ of old, he would have been just so driven and in his head that I can get this. But maybe there's small doubts creeping into him. But in saying that, he is injured. He got 35 minutes into him. He could start. He probably will start the next day. And there's definitely 2 or 3 more big games in him. But it's just it's creeping up on him a small bit, I think.
And maybe that's the problem for Kilkenny now, is their remaining fixtures are Dublin and Wexford, so they've got, in inverted commas, the easy fixtures out of the way in their first couple. So, like, is it you can't really rest him at this point? I mean, and it sounds like he could do with a couple of weeks off.
Yeah, no, I can't. You definitely can't rest him. It's coming week on week. We have to lose now against Galway, so we're under pressure. We're under pressure going to Parnell Park. A serious place to go to. Dublin will be out of their skins, and that's going to be a tough physical game. You know, we're after coming out of a physical game against Galway. We're going to go into another game against Dublin and Parnell. They're going to be hitting us left, right and centre. And, you know, there's no room. If you get injured at this time of year, especially if you get a bad injury, you're basically gone for the season. You see John McGrath or Tip, you know, his Achilles gone for the season. If you pick up a niggle and a knock, it's going to be so hard to kind of curtail it and get your confidence up and get flowing, because the last thing you need when the matches are coming thick and fast is an injury on your mind. And when an injury is on your mind, you're kind of minding it, and you cannot mind it in these games because they're just coming so thick and fast.
Okay, what did you make of the handshake?
Well, I tell you, if Steven Spielberg would be proud of RTE's camera work, I think on Sunday, he should have got an Oscar for it. But look, there's so much talk about it. It overshadowed the game in ways.
I don't remember what happened in the game. There was a goal at the end. There was a bit of a dodgy free. Yeah. What else happened? I can't remember.
If Kilkenny Galway meet again, will they even show the match? I think they'll just be straight on Cody and on Henry for 70 minutes. But look, I think there was something in it, lads. And I think it's there's a few scenarios. I think, look, Henry has hurled for Kilkenny for 12 or 13 years. Won whatever, he's 10 All-Irelands. Just a Kilkenny man at heart. Loves his county, loves playing for his club. And he's after going to Galway, and he's after taking probably a couple of secrets out of the Kilkenny dressing room. He's probably bringing, you know, things that we would have learned over the years, and rightly so. You know, things you learn, you're going to implement on your own team. So he's gone to Galway, up to Connacht with all this knowledge. The second thing, I think, now this is probably from a Cody's perspective, and I'm not saying like it's so hard to read Cody, but the Bob O'Keefe Cup, Brian Cody wants that Bob O'Keefe Cup staying in Leinster. I feel he wants a Kilkenny to win it. He wants a Wexford to win it. He'd be a traditionalist. He'll be old school. He'd feel that cup should be staying in Leinster and not to Connacht. That's the second thing. And then you have the match itself. You had that last couple of minutes of play where Donnelly got a goal that he shouldn't have got. There was probably a hostile atmosphere in Salthill. I played in Salthill before. It can be very hostile. The fans can get in on you. You know, the crowd is roaring. The ball is poked out straight away. A free that was it a free? Was it not a free? And next thing, just put over the bar and just blown up. And I'd say Cody was absolutely fuming with the free. I'd say he thought it was definitely not a free, and that the referee should have even blown it up after full time just for a draw. So you can imagine all that going on, the crowd on top of you, and he was making a beeline for Callum Lyons, and next thing, Henry kind of caught in the way of that. And I'd say the red mist was down over Brian, and that he was fuming the ref, and next thing he saw Henry and said, in his own head, I would have felt that he kind of said, you should be down with Kilkenny, or you should be, you know, you're a Kilkenny man, and next thing we're up here in Galway after getting beaten by a Galway team you're managing. And in the heat of the moment, I think he just kind of let his guard down slightly. And, you know, 3 minutes later, I think that would have been a different handshake. And that's right. Like, if I was up there and if I was managing and if I got bet by a pint that I didn't think was a free and it was over the bar, I'd be tick. And I don't care who I'd be shaking hands with, I'd be angry. And I think players in general are competitors. And Brian always has a managerial battle on the line as well. Don't forget that. He had it with Ger Cunning over the years. He had it with Davy Fitz over the years. I think Dalo threw a shoulder into him there.
Yeah, Dalo, yeah.
2004 or 2003, around that time as well with Clare.
Dalo would be practically playing right corner back sometimes.
He would. He'd be sneaking up, giving him digs. So for Brian, there's always a managerial battle on the line as well, and that kind of feeds into the team. And if you ever look at the qualities of the Kilkenny teams over the years, and it's a credit to Brian Cody, it's drive, it's heart, it's determination, and I always say that a team reflects the manager. And I think Brian has a persona on the sideline. He wants to win the battle on the sideline, and he wasn't going to give in to softness, shaking Henry's hand, saying congratulations, well done, a big chat, a big overall friends.
No hug.
That's not Cody's style.
No.
Well, I was just gonna. I didn't realise that. So, like, the debate about the Baba O'Keefe Cup and the tradition of, you know, Leinster teams competing for the Leinster trophy. So, like, in terms of those Leinster counties that Kilkenny would have had a rivalry with, I would have assumed maybe Wexford would have been the biggest one. But actually, from what you're saying there, in Brian Cody's mind, Galway is the real. Is a real source of not hatred but distaste for Brian Cody within the Leinster Championship.
Well, I suppose, like, it depends who you're playing. It depends, like, the competition between the teams. If we're beating Galway every year, year in, year out, and not even giving us a game, then they're not really becoming our rival. It depends. Wexford kind of came all of a sudden. They beat us in a Leinster final. Next thing, all of a sudden, Wexford were our biggest rival. You know, and Cody had a hatred for them, and whoever team is beating you, you have a hatred for. Like when Tip beat us, we didn't like that, and so it's, I suppose it differs from year on year. But definitely, Brian is a traditionalist, and he wouldn't like to see the O'Keefe Cup going to Galway. And Galway would have took a scalp out of Kenny over the years. In 2005, Roderick flicked the ball over Kennedy's head, you know, to beat us in an Ireland semi-final. They beat us in 2012 in a Leinster final. So they have taken scalps out of Kilkenny, and I just feel that Brian wouldn't like to see that cup going to Connacht, and he'd like to see, like, Munster or Munster. He'd like to see Leinster or Leinster, and he wouldn't like to see it going out to the counties.
That's pretty interesting. I've one last thing about this, right? The aftermath, as we've, we're still talking about it 4 days later, and that's just because the soap opera is spectacular. There's been criticism of Cody. You know, he should have been a bigger man. All that they hurled together, they soldiered together. They're comrades. You're basically saying, I mean, come on, that's not the case. We would all have been exactly the same. That's the whole point here. We're playing to win. So in Kilkenny, is everybody broadly supportive of their man?
I think in Kilkenny, the view is mixed. I think everyone has a little wry smile on their faces going around. Everyone has their own opinion, and look, I think people have the utmost respect for Brian Cody, and they have the utmost respect for Henry Shefflin. I'm just saying, in my view, in the heat of battle, you know, friendships, no one is there to make friends at the top level. And Brian is after winning whatever, he's 12, 13 All-Irelands. He's not there to make friends. He said it before, he's not there to make friends. And anyone who's making friends and being, everything is jolly and everything is happy, you're not going to win a whole lot. So in Kilkenny, everyone respects Henry gone to Galway, and you know, they're not saying he shouldn't have went or he should have went. Everyone has a different opinion. That's probably what I'm probably trying to say.
Yeah.
The competitive nature.
But no one's blaming Cody for being a little bit thick in the aftermath of the game. It's like he just got beaten by somebody who he, you know, shouldn't be getting beaten by, in his view, and so therefore that's okay, I guess.
Yeah, like in my view, as I say, like everyone has their own opinion. People, like some people say, like he should have had a chat. He's after winning 10 All-Irelands with him. You know, great friends and all that. But I just say, in my view, it's the competitive nature, and you know, 2 seconds after a final whistle, after getting beaten by a pint, I don't know if you're going to be all chummy to anybody.
No,
you know, so that's my take on it. I think 10 minutes later, they probably would have had a wry smile and probably said, "Look, we'll get you again," or whatever the case may be. But definitely not in that scenario. But I do think, from a Cody's play, I think it did slip from a small bit. I think he did get caught up in the moment a little bit. I think he was fuming because Brian is not a man to bring attention onto himself, and never was. And he knew cameras were going to be on that handshake, so that's why I feel he did let it slip a bit. And Henry, if you look back at the second video I seen where he looked across at him, he was kind of thinking, what was that about? What just happened there? So that's where I think the conflict was, just for them couple of minutes. But then I think 3 minutes later, it would have been just nothing in it.
We're going to go through the contenders to the throne, I think, Aidan. We're going to go through, like, if you asked us to do your power rankings, it would have been Limerick at number 1, so that's boring. So what we're going to do is do our top 5 contenders to Limerick this year in the All-Ireland Hurling Championship. So do you want to take us through these 5 to 1?
Yeah, Sure, I think, look, it's probably easier to start with the team I think that's capable of beating Limerick. In my view, and I still think Waterford are equipped to take down the Limerick team. I think they're closing a gap a small bit. I think last year they were beaten in the semi-finals as 125 to 17 points. They were beaten by 11 points. This year they got it back to 3 points. Now, albeit they kind of got 1 or 2 late goals, but still got it back to 3 points. I think Waterford are on the road long enough now with Carl. I think they have a settled-ish enough team. I think their confidence in themselves are high after winning the league. I think the players themselves are buying in to Liam Carl's mantra. I think they do work hard. Very, very pacey team when they get going. And they have game changers. You know, they have Hutchison inside. They have Kiley now inside as well. A ball winner, can control it out. Barron in midfield as well. Austin Gleeson. Like, they really have household names now. And it's coming to the stage where I think Waterford need to get over the line. And if they don't get over the line the next couple of years, it'll start to slip again. And if they win 1, they could win 2 in a couple of years. And I just feel physical. To beat Limerick, you need to be physical. I think you need to get goals and you need to go at them. Now, that's not saying you're going to be breaking every tackle, but you need that in your locker room. And I think Waterford do have that mentality. And as I said, they're playing as a team long enough now, and they have a good panel and a good bench there as well. And you're going to need that.
Who's number 2?
Number 2, we were talking about them a couple of weeks ago. I think Clare are really, really good.
Right.
I had my doubts about them, but I think they're really good. And I think they're number 2 for the reason that they're interchanging their forwards, first of all. So that's going to keep Limerick thinking. So you'll have Shane O'Donnell could be in full forward. Peter Duggan could be out half forward. Ian Gavin could start anywhere. Tony Kelly hasn't even set the scene alight, even though he's still scoring his 3 or 4 points. So I think their forward line are really, really good. And I think if you look at Peter Duggan's body language, he's hitting lads. He's aggressive. He's an angry looking man on the pitch, and you need that. And I think the half back line of McInerney, Connellan, and I can't think of the other fella there, but McInerney and Connellan, and I can't think of the other lad. I think they're set up really, really well, and I think they have a good strategy of how they're playing.
Okay.
They know if a guy is going to midfield, they're either holding or they're following. They have their sweeper system if they need it. They don't tend to play it, and they can really, really mix it.
All right. So who's 3?
3, I'd probably go for Galway. I think there's more in them.
Yeah.
I think I think against Wexford, they let Wexford back into it. They should have won that game by, in my view, 4 or 5 points. They should have beat Kilkenny by 4 or 5 points. They're strong and they're physical as well. They need a bit more belief. They need a bit more drive. They need a bit more intensity. But that's things they can work on.
Okay.
But I think Galway in general have the ammunition, and they took it to Limerick. They were probably the contenders in 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
So that's only 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah,
so,
and it's a different team. Well, look, I suppose it's the same like Real Madrid. Several of the important characters of the team are still there. So who's next?
I'll go for my Uncle Kenny then. After that, yeah.
I think so too. I've seen them written off. Some of my friends are like thinking they're not going to make it out of Leinster, let alone the Leinster final. But okay, so you're getting them through to the Leinster final, then I suspect. Is that right?
I'm getting through to the Leinster final. Now they mightn't top the table, but they could come second. But it's serious 2 matches they have to play.
That's what we want.
I think Kenny. I think if they get it right, because they'll have all the aggression and they'll have the intensity, they'll have all that. If they just get their hurling right and get a few players playing in top form, on top of Adrian Mullen, he hasn't hit the heights that he has hit. Billy Ryan, there's so much potential in Billy Ryan. If you get TJ Reid back to 90% of what he was, they're a force to be reckoned with.
Okay.
And they will be angry.
And I think they're the physicality as well. I'm dying to see them against Limerick. And who's 5?
Yeah. 5, then I would probably go with Dublin. You know, and I'm saying that because I'm thinking who's going to come out of the 2 provinces. And I think it'll be Waterford, I think it'll be Limerick, and I think it'll be Clare, maybe not in the order, and I think it will be Galway, Dublin and Kilkenny.
All right.
Dublin is my 5th.
Good stuff. Aidan, great to have you with us this morning. That was brilliant. Thanks a million.
Thanks, guys. Labor.
That's Aidan Fogarty, Taggy, giving us some thoughts on Handshake 8 and who's going to make it out at this stage. They would be good quarterfinals, semi-finals.
Oh, absolutely. They'd be excellent. Can't believe we spent so long on a tabloid subject this morning.
It's 8:45.